Welcome to another episode of the Authority Advantage podcast. I'm your host, Modesta Mahiga. I want to begin today with a question. Have you ever looked at someone's career and wondered how they seem to be everywhere? One day they're delivering a keynote address at an international conference. A few months later, they've been appointed to a board. Then they're quoted in the media. Shortly afterwards, they're advising governments, mentoring CEOs, writing books, serving on global commissions, and somehow they continue attracting opportunities that most leaders spend their entire careers pursuing. From the outside, it can look as though they suddenly arrived, as though everything happened all at once, as though they simply got lucky. But I've spent enough time around exceptional leaders to know that almost nothing about their journey happened overnight. In fact, one of the greatest misconceptions about authority is that people believe it's built in moments. One speech, one promotion, one award, one successful project, one viral post, one introduction, one opportunity. It isn't. Authority is built the way wealth is built. Gradually, through small decisions that seem insignificant in the moment, but become incredibly valuable over time. The executives we admire aren't enjoying the benefits of one extraordinary year. They're benefiting from years of consistent investment. And that changes everything. Because if authority compounds, then every decision you make today is either increasing or decreasing the opportunities available to you tomorrow. I often ask executives a simple question. What opportunity are you working toward? The answers are usually predictable. A board appointment, a promotion, a CEO role, a government appointment, a speaking engagement, a larger client, a global leadership position. Those are all worthwhile aspirations. But then I ask a second question. What are you investing today that makes that opportunity more likely 1, 2, 3, or 5 years from now? That's usually when the conversation changes, because most leaders spend their careers pursuing opportunities. Very few spend their careers building the asset that attracts them. There's an enormous difference. Lean in. If every opportunity requires you to start from zero, convincing people why you're capable, introducing yourself to decision makers who've never heard of you, explaining your expertise, and proving your credibility all over again, you're playing an exhausting game. The leaders who appear to move effortlessly from one opportunity to another are playing a different game entirely. They've built authority. Authority means that the conversation often begins before they enter the room. Sometimes it begins before they even know the opportunity exists. Think about the leaders you've admired throughout your own career. I'm willing to bet that very few became influential because of a single achievement. More often than not, one opportunity created another. Someone noticed their work and invited them to speak. Someone in the audience introduced them to another leader. That relationship led to a board appointment. The board appointment expanded their network. The expanded network created media opportunities. Those interviews increased visibility among decision makers. One recommendation led to another. One trusted relationship opened the door to 5 more. Looking backwards, it appears almost inevitable. Looking forward, it never does. That's how authority works. Every investment creates a possibility of another investment. Every trusted relationship increases the likelihood of another trusted relationship. Every promise you keep makes people more willing to trust you with something bigger. Authority compounds, not because opportunities magically appear, but because trust accumulates, and trust changes how people make decisions about you. One of the biggest mistakes I see accomplished leaders make is assuming that every opportunity stands on its own. They'll say, once I become CEO, once I get on a board, once I publish my book, once I speak at that conference, as though that single achievement is the destination. It isn't. It's simply another investment. A book isn't just a book, it's evidence. A keynote isn't simply a presentation, it's proof. Serving on a board isn't merely another line on your biography. It's another signal that others trusted your judgment enough to invite you into consequential decisions. everything begins to reinforce everything else. Your authority becomes increasingly difficult to ignore because every investment strengthens the next one. That's why I often remind clients that authority is designed, not declared. No one suddenly becomes trusted. Trust accumulates. Now, here's the part that many leaders don't want to hear. Compound interest works both ways. The decisions you postpone also accumulate. Every year, you decide not to publish your ideas because you're waiting until they're perfect. Every invitation you decline because you don't feel ready. Every relationship you never nurture because you're too busy. Every recommendation you forget to ask for. Every conference you attend without intentionally building meaningful connections. Every month, your LinkedIn profile continues describing the leader you used to be instead of the leader you've become. Those decisions compound too. Not dramatically, not immediately, almost invisibly, until one day, someone else is appointed to the opportunity you believed you were qualified for. You tell yourself they were lucky. Perhaps they were, but perhaps they simply invested consistently while you waited for the perfect time. One of the reasons I care so deeply about helping leaders build authority is because I don't want exceptional leaders to spend decades believing their work alone will eventually speak for itself. Sometimes it does. Often it doesn't. The world is full of capable leaders. Competence alone rarely distinguishes you. Authority does. Authority helps decision makers feel safe recommending you. Authority reduces uncertainty. Authority answers questions before they're asked. Authority creates confidence before the interview begins. That's why visibility, thought leadership, relationships, endorsements, and reputation matter so much. They're not separate activities. They're all investments in the same asset. I want you to imagine two executives. They're equally competent. They've achieved similar results. They're both respected inside their organizations. The first spends the next 10 years focusing exclusively on doing excellent work. The second also does excellent work. But in addition, she mentors emerging leaders. She accepts speaking invitations. She publishes thoughtful articles. She builds meaningful relationships. She serves on advisory boards. She intentionally nurtures her professional reputation. She remains visible to the people who make important decisions. Fast forward 10 years. Who do you think receives the unexpected phone call? Who gets recommended for the international board? Who gets invited into conversations about succession planning? Who becomes the obvious choice? The difference wasn't talent, it was investment. As we move deeper into the second half of this year, I'd like to leave you with one question. Not what's the next opportunity I want? Ask yourself something more important. What investment can I make today that will continue paying authority dividends 5 years from now? Perhaps it's finally writing the article you've postponed. Perhaps it's accepting the invitation you've been overthinking. Perhaps it's reaching out to someone you've admired for years. Perhaps it's strengthening your executive positioning. Perhaps it's becoming intentional about how authority stakeholders perceive you. Whatever it is, don't underestimate the power of consistent investment. Most people dramatically overestimate what can happen in a month. They dramatically underestimate what can happen in 1, 3, 5 years. Authority rewards consistency. Small investments, repeated faithfully, over time. As we bring today's conversation to a close, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. Most leaders spend their careers asking, what's my next opportunity? Very few stop to ask, what am I becoming that'll make opportunities seek me out? Those are two different questions. One keeps you chasing, the other keeps you building. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's conversation, it's this. Authority is not built in extraordinary moments. It's built through ordinary decisions made consistently over time. Every article you write, every promise you keep, every relationship you nurture, every room you choose to enter, Every conversation you have and every opportunity you steward well becomes another investment in an asset that continues appreciating long after the work itself is done. The question is no longer whether authority compounds. It does. The only question is whether you're intentionally investing in it. And that's exactly why we created the Executive Authority Diagnostic. Most leaders have never had an independent assessment of how they're perceived by the people who matter most to the opportunities they want. They know how they see themselves. They know how their annual performance review evaluates them. But they don't know how authority stakeholders, boards, executive search firms, selection committees, investors, clients, government leaders, and other decision makers are likely to assess them when significant opportunities arise. That's what the Executive Authority Diagnostic is designed to uncover. Together, we'll identify what's strengthening your authority, what's limiting it, and where your greatest opportunities lie to become the leader decision makers confidently recommend, select, and trust. If you're serious about building authority, rather than simply hoping your hard work eventually gets noticed, I invite you to book your Executive Authority Diagnostic today. The link is in the show notes. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Authority Advantage podcast. Until next time, remember this. Visibility may get you noticed. Competence may earn you respect. But authority is what causes others to stake their reputation on yours. I'm Modesta Mahiga, and this is the Authority Advantage podcast. Until next time.